Here with reaction, Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt, former senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller, Outkick host Tomi Lahren. Tommy, I'll start with you. I'll give you the choice of which one you'd like to respond to. I don't know. I would never think that I'd ever have to ask a guest on this program to define a woman. Maybe I'll pass on that, and maybe I'll give that to Stephen Miller because he's the lucky winner tonight. But maybe you could describe what an assault weapon is, or their, quote, definition of one, because clearly the head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has no clue.
Yeah, you're exactly right. These people were definitely not hired for their expertise, but it still stuns me how many liberals think that AR-15 stands for assault rifle when it's actually Armalite rifle by the company that produced them and created them. But no liberal's going to tell you that. And then this person has even less knowledge than that. So where do we start? There's so many crises piling up. As you mentioned, Joe was either in bed at a castle or licking an ice cream cone, telling us to go lick the world. But I would like to talk about the border because I've been there several times during the Trump administration. And that zero tolerance policy, the one that they try to name child separation, it worked. That's why we saw record lows in border crossings during the Trump administration, because he did something. And now these people who claim to care about migrants, as they call them, are asleep at the wheel because they see these people as pawns and future voters. They don't care about their well-being. I don't see AOC down there hugging a fence or hugging one of Obama's cages, as she did for the photo op during the Trump administration. It just goes to show you how absolutely disingenuous they are about everything, from the border to gun control to our position in the world stage. They care about none of it, but climate change and rainbows. That's it.
You know, I don't know what to say to that. Stephen Miller, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be a gracious host tonight. I'll let you choose. Do you want to talk about how to define a woman? Do you want to define what an assault weapon is? Do you want to comment on the open borders and the sex trafficking that is very real? Over 6 million people illegally entering the country with Biden and Mayorkas. And by the way, they are aiding and abetting in that effort. Or maybe you want to talk about winking Tony Blinken and how he's lecturing people in Japan about green energy, and meanwhile North Korea and China are creating nothing but a terror zone there.
Well, let's see if I can hit them all real quick, Sean. The national humiliation under Joe Biden never ends. We have an education secretary who doesn't know what a woman is. We have a Homeland Security secretary who doesn't know what a border is. And we have a Secretary of State who doesn't know what national security is, and we have an ATF director who doesn't know what an assault weapon is, the very thing that he's trying to ban. All common sense Americans know what all of these things are. They know a border is a place that you get deported if you cross. They know that a semi-automatic rifle is a major prime weapon of self-defense in this country. They know that a woman is an adult human female that can get pregnant, that can give birth. And they know that national security is about having a strong military to protect this country, not forcing a loser green agenda on foreign countries when we should be protecting this country by drilling here and drilling now, as Donald Trump did, who brought our energy prices to record lows and our national security stronger than it had ever been before.
Okay, so they can't define what an assault weapon is. They can't define what a woman is. They're not dealing with China and Japan and the real threats that exist in the world today, Charlie Hurt. They're not dealing with the problem at the border, over 6 million illegal immigrants. And my question is, with Joe Biden this checked out, I now see an alliance. I call it a new axis of evil, and that's Iran. That's Russia. That's China. And now they've brought in the Saudis, the Egyptians, the UAE, things that I didn't see we would happening in our lifetime. And now the Iranians and the Saudis are aligned. Soon the Saudis will be aligned with Syria. We are watching the reconfiguration of the world happen right before our eyes, and Joe Biden is looking at castles in Ireland.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens when the leader of the free world falls asleep and cedes all of American authority, all of American power, all of American independence to tyrants around the world. And this comes as no surprise. What's amazing as you go through each of these buffoons in front of Congress, what I think is most interesting about that is that every single one of them perfectly, accurately reflects who Joe Biden is. You think Joe Biden could define for you what a woman is, what an assault rifle is, what the border is? He doesn't understand any of these things, or purposefully sticks his head in the sand because politically he believes that it's better to weaponize all of this stuff. But the testimony that Mayorkas gave today in the Senate, it's just further proof, and I guess we've already had it, but it's further proof that these people will lie about absolutely anything. They will say absolutely anything in order to weaponize the catastrophes that they have created and to try to weaponize them into some sort of political cudgel to try to win the next election. And honestly, because all of these things affect people, voters in very real ways, Democrats and Republicans, I pray that people wake up and the people that supported Joe Biden 2 years ago realize that this guy is going to destroy America. Even if he has 2 more years, he might destroy the country.
Tommy, everything seems to be rooted in this Green New Deal, this radical socialist agenda, this climate alarmist religious cult, as I call it. And the sad part is, because Joe Biden abandoned energy independence, and we were a net exporter of energy when he became president, we now have to rely on countries and are making countries that hate us rich. Countries like Saudi Arabia, OPEC countries, now Venezuela, probably soon Iran. And we have more natural resources combined than they do. And that's the shame of it all. It would be good for national security. It would be good for high-paying career jobs. It would be good for our allies in Western Europe that align themselves stupidly with Vladimir Putin and Russia. And we become an energy-rich nation, and probably we could pay down our debt and not burden our kids and grandkids.
Yeah, instead of sending all of our hard-earned tax dollars over to Zelensky, if we really wanted to stick it to Russia, we would be American energy independent and we would be exporters of energy, as you laid out. I'm from South Dakota. Just hours into Biden's presidency, he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. Those individuals in that state are still wondering when they're going to get their green new jobs, because we keep hearing about all this plentiful job opportunities in green energy. But the people in my home state and the hardworking Americans out there that relied on those well-paying jobs in fossil fuels, they have been left out to dry. Same thing with the people in East Palestine, Ohio, the poor white Trump supporters. This administration does not care about them. They've learned that they can weaponize this climate change conversation, and it really, really inspires young people to go out and vote when they're not on TikTok. So that's why they continue to drive this home, because there's not really a solution to it. They just can talk about green energy, and it makes them feel like they've done something, which is really the Democrat agenda in a nutshell. Virtue signaling, making people feel like they've done something, and in reality, they've done nothing but make everything worse.
Stephen Miller, the border problem preventable, the energy dependence problem preventable, a belief in our Second Amendment rights and punishing criminals that get a hold of weapons illegally, like Hunter Biden lying on, let's say, a gun application, would probably go a long way to preventing criminals from getting guns. Now we have to define women, and meanwhile, the world is watching China aggressively create new alliances that, well, these are countries that used to like us, but they don't trust Biden as president, do they?
No. Look, woke ideology is an ideology of national suicide. Whether it's shutting down American energy to pray to the god of green energy, or whether it's letting criminals who carry weapons go free in our major cities like New York City again and again and again, while trying to disarm law-abiding citizens, or not having a border at all. And I give great credit to Josh Hawley today for pulverizing Secretary Mayorkas, who, along with Joe Biden, has presided over an epidemic of modern-day slavery for which they are solely and personally responsible and will be to their everlasting and eternal shame. We need to turn this country around, Sean, and restore sanity, common sense, the rule of law, borders, and true American values, or I fear we won't have a country left to pass off to our children and their children.
Charlie Hurt, last word.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And, the energy independence aspect of all of this, I think, is one of the most important, because not only did it do so much to weaken the United States of America and our standing in the world, but of course it empowered our enemies. And Vladimir Putin never, under the Trump administration, when oil prices and gas prices were low, couldn't afford to do anything. As soon as Joe Biden came in, destroyed our energy independence, jacked gas prices through the roof, Vladimir Putin had the money he needed, and the first thing he did was invade Ukraine.
All right. Thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it.